The doors to the courthouse open, and the room hushes. Kody Brown enters, his shiny shoes clicking on the marble floor, ringing out in the echoing space. His shoulders are squared, posture stiff, but his tensioned jaw gives away the hurricane inside. Behind him, the women who have shared decades of his life, Robin, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, sit down, each with a different story, each a different wound. Christine's eyes scan the room like a hawk, quick and calculating. Her normal composure is broken by a flash of uncertainty, the sort of uncertainty born of the knowledge that all those years of devotion and sacrifice might be turned against her in this very court. Robin sits upright, hands clasped, fingers writhing with nervousness as if attempting to pin herself to some kind of stability. Janelle leans slightly forward, vigilant and poised, while Mary's gaze drifts skyward, silently rehearsing every word she might utter when the moment comes. The judge enters, and an almost imperceptible shiver runs through the room. He's a man of quiet authority, his eyes scanning the courtroom with the weight of someone who has seen human conflict in its rawest form. The bailiff reads the case number, and the soft rustling of papers and hushed murmurs cease in an instant. The air is heavy, almost palpable, with expectation. Each minutest detail, the subtle smell of freshly polished wood, the faint perfume that each woman wears, even the far-off hum of vehicles outside, is heightened in the gravity of the moment. Kody's attorney stands up first, clearing her throat before speaking to the room. Ladies and gentlemen, today we face allegations that attack at the very center of this family. Financial manipulation, covert correspondence, and emotional and legal betrayals are involved. We request that you listen closely. Christine exhales sharply, her hands gripping the edge of the table as if she could steady herself against the coming storm. Robin's lips press together, her eyes glistening slightly as memories of past conflicts threaten to surface. Janelle shifts subtly in her chair, her body tense, ready for every twist the proceedings might bring. Mary's quiet demeanor masks a well of emotion that threatens to spill over at any moment. The prosecuting attorney approaches, presenting the initial salvo of charges. Records and letters indicate that some members of this family might have falsified monetary donations, concealed information, and participated in activities incompatible with trust. The sentence lingers, oppressive, and with visceral responses spreading throughout the family. Kody fidgets, saying, This is not true," his tone as unconvincing as it is anxious. Robin looks away, refusing to look anyone in the eye. Christine's jaw clenches, every muscle in her face a product of years of bottled anger. The first witness is sworn in, Mary. She stands slowly, shoulders squared, voice shaking initially but deepening with each statement. She testifies about incidents over the past months, years even, describing moments of loyalty and boundary pushing. The courtroom falls into stunned quiet as she weaves back and forth between remorse, regret, and resolve. Each word she speaks heightens tension, and fleeting glances are exchanged between the wives, unspoken bonds that lie hidden from the outside world but are very real to anyone familiar with the family. Christine is up next. Her tone is measured, keen, defensive. "I have devoted my life to this family," she declares, her eyes clashing with Kody's. "And now, it appears that loyalty has been distorted into testimony against me." She thumps a document on the table, the sudden crack shattering already tenuous peace. The judge narrows an eyebrow, scanning the room, eyes passing briefly over each woman before settling back on Kody. Janelle sits back a bit, breathing out slowly through her nose, her head spinning with what she will say when her turn comes. The tension is almost palpable now, every breath, every change in position amplified by the presence of the room. Robin's lips tremble, and she struggles to hold back the movement, gritting herself to stay calm. Mary closes her eyes for a moment, pulling herself together, vowing silently that she will tell the truth, no matter what the price. The judge interrupts, voice steady but authoritative. "Do these allegations have corroborating evidence?" This court needs to be aware of the total context before going any further. An anticipatory silence ensues. Even the gentle scuff of shoes on the floor seems to echo, like a countdown drumbeat waiting for a fight. A lawyer suddenly produces an email from some months back, a missive that could upset the delicate balance within the courtroom. Christine leans forward, eyes open in shock, while Robin tenses, her hands on the table edge. Janelle blinks quickly, trying to absorb the implications, while Mary goes white, realizing the contents might complicate her defense. Kody's fingers drum restlessly on the table, betraying the tension he is trying to hide. The afternoon drags on, testimony extending into strained, cautious conversation, each word heavy with meaning. The prosecutor presses harder, unearthing details that challenge the emotional and moral cores of the family. Christine counters with memories of sacrifices, long nights, and the constant struggle to keep everyone together. Robin offers quiet, poignant observations, revealing the emotional toll of trying to maintain peace. Janelle navigates the legal and emotional minefield with careful precision, while Mary's raw honesty captivates the courtroom. Kody listens, caught between a protective instinct and a dread of exposure. His voice is barely above a whisper as he tries to interrupt, but the gravitas of the accusations and the emotional turbulence surrounding him mutes him. The court itself seems to thrum with tension, the silence heightened, the rustle of papers, the muted whisper of counsel to client, the far-off hum of onlookers beyond the main courtroom doors. As the day of testimony wears on toward its end, no solutions have been found. All family members sit in subdued reflection, the burden of the day bearing down upon them. Kody's gaze roams the room, searching, silently begging for some glimmer of comprehension, while the women sit in a combination of fear, rage, and expectation. A final moment hangs in the balance, a secret message, slipped quietly into evidence, waiting to shift the whole foundation of the case. The judge calls for a brief recess, but the room hums with unspoken tension. The women share pointed glances, the sort that tell 1,000 words without uttering one. Kody's shoulders slouch as though the burden of decades of unrevealed secrets is finally falling on his shoulders. The camera lingers on each face, capturing the intricate mix of emotions, Christine's defiance tempered with worry, Robin's quiet vulnerability, Janelle's sharp calculation, Mary's tentative courage, and Kody's indecision. This is only the beginning, the fracture lines within the family are deep, and each revelation threatens to widen them further. The doors of the courtroom open again after the break, but the atmosphere within is more oppressive than ever. Kody occupies the front row, his hands clenched together on the bench, knuckles pale. The air is nearly choking, every inhale cutting with tension. His wives have come back in, but the atmosphere between them has changed, caution dances across their features, alliances unspoken but clearly realigning. Robin's eyes dart furtively towards Christine, who looks ahead with an almost unnoticeable smirk, her jaw clenched tight with resolve. Janelle remains stiff, trying to look calm on the surface, but her hands tap slightly on the side of the table, giving away her mental calculus. Mary clenches her lips, her eyes cast down, as if she is preparing herself for the hurricane that is brewing. The prosecuting attorney stands up once more, a heavy folder clutched in his hand, and speaks to the court. The court has identified correspondence between members of this family which indicates purposeful hiding and calculated manipulation. His sentences rest heavily in the air, the gravity bearing down on each individual like a physical weight. Kody fidgets in his seat, swallowing hard, attempting to keep his reactions under control. Robin swallows hard, her hands knotting in her lap as though she is attempting to hold back the feelings that want to spill out. Christine glares at Kody, a blend of accusation and pain, and Janelle cocks forward slightly, narrowing her eyes and preparing herself mentally to defend herself. Mary's hands tighten around her folder, her knuckles whitening as she breathes through the rising panic in her chest. The first witness for this round is a former family associate, someone who has watched the Browns from the outside yet knows the inner workings intimately. The witness describes late-night conversations, coded messages, and behind-the-scenes conflicts. The courtroom waits with held breaths as the tale is told. Robin and Christine allegedly had behind-the-scenes conferences concerning Kody's choices, while Janelle and Mary allegedly plotted their own actions concurrently. The specter of betrayal looms in the room, each accusation sharper than the last. Christine stands to reply. Her voice is crisp, clean, and riddled with emotional tension. I have never conspired against anyone. I've only fought to be heard, she says, her gaze locking onto Kody's. Her tone is defensive, yet the cracks in her composure are visible, a slight tremor in her hands, a rapid blink, a swallowed sigh. Robin shifts uneasily in her seat, eyes darting toward Christine, then back to the judge. The subtle tension between the two women is palpable, an invisible current threatening to spark at any moment. Janelle takes her turn. She leans back slightly, her voice calm but deliberate. We've all made mistakes, she admits, but no one has acted with malice. This court must be shown the entire picture. Her words are measured, guarded, but her eyes show the psychological contortions she's making to make her way through the minefield of charges. Mary goes next, advancing with steady purpose. She talks softly at first, but gains force as she describes her experiences, instances in which she was made to feel invisible, inaudible, and emotionally manipulated. Her statements struck the room like silent bullets, each one weighted and true, leaving Kody visibly shaken. The tension mounts as the prosecuting attorney requests that private communications be shown. Phones, emails, and text messages flash in the courtroom, revealing conversations no one wanted to read. Robin's eyes open wide as she reads one, Christine's face becomes stony, lips compressing into a thin line. Janelle pushes forward, her attention sharp as a knife, while Mary takes a deep breath, struggling against the tidal wave of fear and frustration building inside her. Even the room seems to be holding its breath, every rustle of paper, every soft whisper of advice, every anxious shuffling of feet is amplified in the stifling silence. The lawyers begin cross-examination, and emotions flare. Christine bursts, her voice cracking as she slams a hand on the table. I've sacrificed everything for this family, she exclaims, the courtroom momentarily holding its collective gasp. Robin's quiet voice trembles as she counters with her own perspective, revealing moments of vulnerability, isolation, and unacknowledged effort. Janelle and Mary interject with careful precision, their words chosen to maintain credibility while defending personal stakes. Kody sits frozen, caught between the women's rising accusations, trying to interject, but every time he opens his mouth, a new revelation emerges from the attorneys or witnesses, silencing him. The emotional pendulum swings wildly, one moment quiet reflection, the next, explosive confrontation. Each wife's face tells a story, Christine's fiery defiance, Robin's anxious restraint, Janelle's calculated neutrality, Mary's quiet courage. The courtroom is a theater of feeling, and the audience both in and outside the narrative can sense the tension lurking like static electricity in the air. Halfway through the hearing, a surprise witness is summoned, a family friend privy to intimate conversations and behind-the-scenes battles. The testimony brings a shocking revelation: there has been a clandestine alliance being created among two of the wives, plotting against Kody's choice and power. Gasps spread through the courtroom. Robin's fists are clenched, Christine's eyes ignite with rage, Janelle's stoic expression is shaken, and Mary goes white as she comprehends the seriousness of the revelation. Kody leans forward, as if physically attempting to embrace the shock of this development, his thoughts racing in an attempt to comprehend both the betrayal and the ramifications for the legal result. Flashbacks slice through the tension of the courtroom, offering flashbacks of the hushed arguments, the drunken confrontations, and the covert confrontations that boiled down to this instant. Robin and Christine are seen in a tense standoff, voices low but hot, eyes flashing. Janelle paces down the hall, on the phone with a friend, her face uninterpretable. Mary quietly sits in her bedroom, reflecting on words spoken in hushed tones that surface in the courtroom now. The episode comes to its emotional climax when Kody is eventually summoned to testify. His voice is firm at first, then cracks under visible tension. I've done my best to keep this family together, he confesses, eyes moving nervously between the women. But I see now, perhaps I've only made the cracks deeper. The room is quiet, the words hanging in the air. Even the judge slightly leans forward, feeling the emotional weight in the room. The session concludes with a cliffhanger. An email appears that suggests financial and emotional betrayals, one that could tip the scales of the whole courtroom. Christine tenses up, her eyes squinting as she reads through the contents. Robin clamps her lips, gulps hard. Janelle's expression is unreadable, while Mary's eyes glisten with a mix of fear and determination. Kody sits back, a faint tremor in his hands, realizing the weight of the storm about to break fully over his family. The courtroom is electric with tension as morning sunlight pours in through tall windows, casting long shadows on gleaming wood floors. Kody sits stiff at the head, fingers drumming anxiously on the table, as the wives steel themselves for what is to be the most challenging day so far. Christine's eyes smolder with barely contained rage, Robin's eyes dart back and forth between Kody and Christine, and Janelle keeps her cool on the surface, but her hands give away a hidden tension. Mary closes her eyes, taking a sharp breath as if bracing herself for the emotional storm to come. The judge starts the day somberly. Today, this court will receive testimony that could change the very basis of relationships, loyalties, and what constitutes truth within this family. The words echo in the stilled courtroom, and for a moment, all four wives look at each other with glances that need no words: fear, anxiety, and the agonizing recognition that there's no going back. The district attorney stands up, wielding evidence gathered over months of private emails, showing discussions no one in the family ever should have witnessed. Gasps spread around the courtroom as text messages and emails appear on the court screen. The messages read emotional betrayals, backroom deals, and long-secret frustrations. Robin flinches at the screen, Christine's jaw tightens, Janelle leans forward, calculating, and Mary's eyes glisten with tears she struggles to hold back. The first witness called is an emotionally charged one, a close friend of Christine's who testifies about past grievances, long-ignored concerns, and moments where Christine felt silenced within the family. Her testimony is raw, detailing late-night confrontations, whispered arguments, and subtle manipulations. As she testifies, Christine's calm breaks, shoulders quivering, eyes brimming with tears, hands shaking. Her gaze darts to Kody, pleading, accusatory, and angry all simultaneously. Robin remains rigid, suppressing her own feeling, while Janelle's stoic mask crumbles, revealing anxiety and fear. Mary quietly brushes a tear from her own cheek, both sympathizing and feeling threatened for herself as the testimony progresses. Kody stands up for his cross-examination, voice trembling but trying to be steady. "I've attempted to be fair, to be here, to be supportive to everyone," he concedes. "But I realize now that what I did might have caused more harm than good." His confession causes a stir in the courtroom. Christine's eyes flash, Janelle sits forward slightly, and Robin's lips purse into a thin line. Mary fidgets in her seat, visibly taking on the burden of the confession, calculating quietly how this could affect her own story. And then, the bombshell: the prosecutor brings in a confidential letter penned by Christine months before, with clandestine plans and thoughts that differ from much of her previous testimony. Christine gasps out loud, hands over her mouth as she struggles to get a grip, but the harm is done. Kody's expression darkens, Robin glances away in disbelief, Janelle's eyes narrow, and Mary's face pales. The courtroom tension skyrockets as everyone digests the revelation. Robin is called to testify next, her hands trembling slightly as she approaches the witness stand. Her voice is soft at first, laced with vulnerability. "I've tried to hold this family together, to support Kody and everyone else," she says, eyes flicking nervously to Christine. "But I've realized that sometimes loyalty isn't enough when betrayal is so close." She recounts moments of isolation, emotional neglect, and unspoken frustrations, her words raw and authentic. The courtroom is silent except for the soft sobs she tries to suppress. Christine's glare is sharp, Kody's eyes flicker with guilt, Janelle remains analytical, and Mary silently nods, recognizing shared pain. Suddenly, the prosecuting attorney plays an audio tape of a heated private argument between Kody and two of the wives. Raised voices, thrown accusations, raw emotions, the room is transfixed. Christine's hand shoots to her mouth in shock, Robin sits forward in disbelief, Janelle's eyes widen marginally, and Mary looks down, quietly praying this is not used against her. Kody's face reddens, a combination of shame and defensiveness coloring his features. The air is charged, nearly oppressive, as the tape ends and silence descends in the room. Janelle testifies next. She speaks quietly, almost scripted, yet every sentence bears a hidden burden of tension. She recalls instances of manipulations used subtly, calculated friendships, and emotional games played out in the family. The courtroom listens intently to her every statement. Christine fidgets in her chair, Robin's hands knot anxiously, and Kody's shoulders drop with the realization of just how complicated the dynamics have turned. Mary absorbs each detail intently, readying herself for what she knows will be a difficult turn in her own testimony. The day becomes more heated as a surprise witness is summoned, a person outside the family who had been quietly watching them for the last year. Their testimony is incriminating, exposing secret messages, secret resentments, and machinations that have been unsuspected. Christine gasps, Robin tenses, Janelle leans forward eagerly, and Mary goes white. Kody's jaw clenches as he grapples to take in the truth of what's being disclosed. The courtroom mood is charged, every word a spark lighting an emotional conflagration. Then comes the moment no one anticipated, a previously undisclosed financial document is introduced. It contradicts some of Kody's prior statements and implicates certain decisions made by the wives. Shock flashes across every face. Christine covers her mouth, Robin's eyes widen, Janelle's brow furrows, and Mary's hands tremble. The judge leans forward, voice firm but calm, asking pointed questions about the document's authenticity. The entire courtroom seems to hold its breath. Kody is summoned once more, his voice hardly above a whisper as he speaks. I didn't know the whole impact of my decisions, he states, his voice cracking. I only wanted to save everyone, but maybe I have failed. Tears pool in his eyes as he fights to keep himself together. Christine leans back, furious but exposed, Robin chews on her lip, Janelle's face is inscrutable, and Mary sits silently trying to compose herself. The emotional toll is nearly overwhelming, and the audience feels the tension in the room with every detail, the crackle of chairs, the rustle of papers, the whisper of air conditioning, all amplified by the high-drama stakes. The session builds to its emotional climax as the prosecuting attorney teases out yet another secret, one that threatens to upend the whole story. Christine's hands shake, Robin glances nervously at Kody, Janelle's eyes narrow as she assesses her next move, and Mary's chest tightens with anticipation and fear. The weight of anticipation is almost unbearable, each second dragging with the suspense of what is about to be revealed. The courthouse is quiet but charged with electricity as the afternoon hearing convenes. The light streaming through the high windows throws crisp shadows across shining wood floors, and the space seems to hum with heightened drama. Kody sits at the front of the room, fists locked on the table, jaw clenched, each nerve taut. The wives are ranged behind him, each exuding a different vibration, Robin with subtle intensity, Christine seething with restrained fury, Janelle composed but calculating, and Mary shaking slightly, but resolute to meet the storm. The judge addresses them, voice steady but firm. This hearing will concern making things clear about actions, intent, and duty. The court demands candor from everyone concerned. The statement lingers in the air, weighing heavily on the family. Each woman shifts marginally in her chair, the strain reverberating through each movement. Even Kody, normally calm in the courtroom, appears perturbed. The prosecuting attorney stands, presenting fresh evidence, papers and texts that speak of deliberate choices made in secret. Charges are made with precision, emotional manipulation, clandestine communications, and backroom deals that assault the moral and legal structure of the family. Christine sits forward, eyes aflame, lips set in a hard line. Robin's fingers twist nervously in her lap, and Janelle's calm exterior conceals a flurry of mental strategizing. Mary's lips tremble as she listens, her chest tightening with anxiety. The first witness is called, an outsider who had intimate knowledge of the family's private dealings. The courtroom listens, wrapped in tense, as they detail manipulations, secret alliances, and strategic moves that occurred over the past year. Christine's face scrunches up with anger and incredulity, Robin squirms uncomfortably, Janelle's eyes flash with calculation, and Mary stiffens as she prepares herself for the emotional fallout. Kody leans forward, speechless but clearly shaken, aware of the depth of revelation this testimony is bringing. Christine is next, defending herself with fiery passion. "I have acted with integrity," she asserts, voice firm, yet the tremor in her tone betrays fear. She recounts years of sacrifice, arguing that her actions were always intended to protect the family. Robin watches silently, her own experiences and frustrations surfacing in her mind. Janelle leans forward slightly, listening and noting inconsistencies, while Mary's expression softens in empathy but hardens in resolve. The cross-examination is merciless. Attorneys question Christine's assertions, prodding her over moments of concealment and alleged manipulation. Christine's calm starts to break down, hands shake, glancing to Kody for reassurance, but he's immobile, not knowing how to react. The tension is well near a strangulation, the courtroom a pressure cooker of emotion and legal inquiry. Robin is recalled to testify, voice softer but no less compelling. She recounts her own experiences, moments of emotional neglect, private disappointments, and personal sacrifices made to maintain family harmony. Christine's jaw tightens, Kody swallows hard, Janelle nods subtly as if to herself, and Mary's eyes water slightly, reflecting her shared vulnerability. The weight of every word weighs heavy, and the audience can sense the intensity as if it were palpable. The prosecuting attorney presents a new bit of evidence, a letter Kody penned in secret months earlier, describing his personal dilemma and secret doubts. The letter reveals the inner turmoil he's experienced in trying to keep his wives in balance. Gasps circulate throughout the courtroom. Christine's eyes go wide with shock, Robin's mouth falls open in surprise, Janelle leans in, weighing its significance, and Mary clutches her hands anxiously. Kody goes white as the reality of his exposure is now out there, subject to criticism on all fronts. As the interview goes on, the emphasis turns to ethical conundrums. Attorneys quiz the family over their moral choices. Was Kody's attempt to be fair sufficient, or did it inadvertently side with one wife over the other? Were the wives' actions protective or manipulative? Christine stands up for her choices forcefully, Robin vents about being silenced, Janelle plays it strategically neutral, and Mary grapples with asserting her view in the face of escalating tension. The courtroom is a crucible of competing motives, feelings, and truths. At the moment when it seems like things can't get any more intense, a surprise witness appears, a family friend who claims to have information about clandestine meetings and furtive agreements among the wives. Their words uncover long-concealed alignments, a time when Christine and Robin had secretly disagreed with Kody's choices, while Janelle and Mary had quietly made their own maneuvers in tandem. Shock and incredulity spread through the room. Christine's hands shake, Robin bites her lip, Janelle leans forward, intense and calculating, and Mary closes her eyes, heart racing. Kody's shoulders slump, the burden of revelation weighing on him. Flashbacks are threaded into the courtroom testimony, offering glimpses of private skirmishes, hushed arguments, late-night chats, and clandestine plotting. Robin and Christine appear in heated exchanges, their words hushed but their faces full of rage. Janelle stalks down a corridor, plotting on the phone, her face unreadable. Mary sits by herself, quietly drinking in facts she never had, readied for the emotional war she's about to endure. The session is at its emotional peak when Kody is summoned to testify once more. His voice trembles as he says, "I thought I could keep peace, I thought I could protect everyone. But I see now that my actions have caused pain I never intended." The room is silent. Christine's eyes sparkle with wrath and sadness, Robin's lips tremble, Janelle quivers in judgment but momentarily softens, and Mary fights to keep her composure. The words linger, each one a demonstration of the futility of combining love, faithfulness, and equity in this system of family life. As the session comes to an end, a new surprise is revealed, a secret audio recording between two of the wives about Kody's decisions and their own planning. The tape reveals emotional manipulation, calculated scheming, and unvarnished frustrations. Christine winces, Robin's eyes open wide, Janelle juts forward sharply, and Mary clutches the table's edge, her heart pounding. Kody's face hardens, the weight of public exposure bearing down on him. The judge summons a brief recess, but tension in the room remains. Every family member is left to sort through the deluge of revelations, the ethical dilemmas, and the emotional upheaval of the day. The subtle changes in alliance, trust, and perception have transformed the dynamic completely. Even Patriarch Kody is left questioning his own choices, questioning whether or not the family will ever fully recover. The courtroom is charged, nearly intolerably so, with the day of the verdict. Morning light pours through high windows, making long shadows on the highly polished floor. Kody is seated at the front table, hands crossed tightly, jaw set, eyes darting nervously from his wives to the judge. Robin, Christine, Janelle, and Mary are seated behind him, each radiating a different energy, Robin's quiet apprehension, Christine's simmering anxiety, Janelle's calculated poise, and Mary's tentative determination. The weight of months of conflict, secrets, and emotional strain hangs heavy in the air. The judge enters, and the room falls silent. Every eye is fixed on the bench, every movement magnified by the anticipation of the impending verdict. The atmosphere is charged with tension, the soft rustle of paper and the faint coughs of spectators magnified in the tense silence. Kody's fingers tap anxiously on the table, his shoulders are stiff, but his eyes give away the turbulence of feeling within. The wives adjust themselves, tensing, hearts pounding out in time to the tension gripping the room. The judge clears his throat. Having weighed the evidence, testimony, and all facts before them, this court hereby makes the following ruling. The words resonate through the chamber, and for an instant, time stands still. Everyone in the room exhales, the tension of anticipation bearing down on them like a physical weight. Christine's hand trembles slightly as she clasps it over her mouth, her eyes locked on Kody. Robin's hands twist nervously in her lap, her eyes darting between Christine and the judge. Janelle leans forward slightly, her expression unreadable yet focused. Mary's lips press into a thin line, her chest tight with apprehension. Even Kody, who typically is the stabilizer, appears frozen in the moment, the verdict potentially rewriting all his relationships. The reading of the verdict causes a ripple effect through the courtroom. Some of the conclusions are as expected, and others come as a shock. Some decisions and actions taken by the wives are reinforced, while others are chastised. Kody's face changes from tension to incredulity as he absorbs the subtlety of the ruling. Christine lets out a sharp exhalation, relief and lingering irritation crossing her face. Robin's eyes brim with unshed tears, her brain replaying the wars, betrayals, and sacrifices of the last few months. Janelle's stoic facade crackles ever so slightly, giving a glimpse of relief crossed with calculation. Mary closes her eyes for a moment, releasing a shaky breath as she takes in the affirmation and provocations that make up the verdict. The prosecution's lawyer synthesizes the main points, underscoring the ethical and emotional nuances uncovered during the trial. This case isn't about facts, the lawyer says. It's about relationships, trust, and the price of secrets. Let this be an object lesson that truth, when concealed, has a tendency to return with increased vigor. The courtroom hangs on her words, the burden of each one bearing down on the family like a reminder of the price of secrecy and deception. Christine stands to speak, her voice firm but tinged with vulnerability. I have always done what I thought was best for my family, she starts, looking over at Kody. And although some choices may have been misconstrued, I stand by my heart. Her eyes flash around the courtroom, locking with those of her co-wives in a silent appeal for comprehension. Robin shifts uncomfortably in her seat, nodding subtly, while Janelle looks on neutrally, weighing the optimal course of action. Mary's fingers bunch tightly in her lap, her voice quiet but firm when she finally speaks. We've all done something wrong. But we're still a family, and we need to figure out a way to move forward, no matter how painful that is. The courtroom action pauses into a moment of introspection as the family processes fully the verdict. Flashbacks reveal the emotional process: whispered fight, secret tears, moments of fear, and brief glimpses of love. Christine recalls nights spent in quiet frustration, Robin recalls quiet sacrifices, Janelle relives calculated decisions in secret, and Mary is confronted by the fear of being judged. Kody observes each of the women, understanding the depth of emotion and commitment interlaced into every motion and decision. The judge makes final comments. Let this court tell everyone involved that although legal solution has been found, the real work is in understanding, forgiveness, and rebuilding. The ties strained here are delicate but not beyond repair. The decision to proceed is in each of your hands. The words hang in the air, every syllable weighed with meaning. Kody exhales, shoulders slumping slightly as he realizes the responsibility of guiding the family beyond the courtroom walls. A private conversation between the wives unfolds quietly after the verdict, revealing the complex emotional landscape. Christine approaches Robin, the tension between them palpable yet softened by mutual understanding. "We've been through so much," Christine admits quietly. Robin nods, her eyes glistening. "Yes, but we've survived it together," she responds, voice steady despite the tremor of emotion. Janelle listens silently, offering subtle nods of agreement, while Mary sits nearby, reflecting on the fragility and resilience of her family. As the day winds down, each family member is left to process the verdict privately. Kody struts down the corridors, the sounds of the courtroom lingering behind him, every step a reminder of duty. Christine withdraws into a solitary room, grappling with the combination of vindication and anger. Robin sits in reflection, pondering growth and unvoiced feelings. Janelle schemes inwardly regarding the future, and Mary quietly re-examines her position in the family. The courtroom drama is over, but the emotional ride continues long after the courthouse doors close. The last minutes of the session are cinematic in their power. The camera pauses on each face, showing the range of emotion: relief, heartbreak, frustration, understanding, and hope. The family has lived through exposure, betrayal, and revelation, and yet each member emerges with epiphanies that might define their future together or apart.